NFL Week 2 Power Rankings. Week 1 was fun, a lot of fun. We got some answers to questions, and then we had some questions we thought we had some answers to, but a lot of good stuff to sift through. It's only 1 week, so it's not worth the overreaction. But as I always do, oh, by the way, everybody, please like, comment, subscribe. If you think there's an omission on this list, and usually it's people that, they root for a team really strong, they get really ticked that their team's not on the list, comment below. Tell me why I missed on your team and why I should include them in the top 10. But before I get rolling, I always give respect, what I call respect, but I also call this the clown emoji screen, because those fans of these teams, they do not like when I omit them. So I always get the clown emoji, I always get the laughing, crying face, or a combination of the two. That's fine. Comment below. Let me know why I whiffed on your team. But teams that I took notice of in week 1. First of all, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, let me lead off with the Tennessee Titans. They fell off the list, not because I don't like them. I like them quite a bit, but Gostkowski, they got to fix that kicking situation. So I still think Tennessee's built for a deep, deep playoff run, but I'm punishing them this week, okay? I'm punishing them. They're in the doghouse. I want to see them hit field goals. Come on, guys. Tampa Bay, they were on the top 10 last week. I dropped them off. I'm not freaking out. Tom Brady, he just needs some chemistry with his receivers. He just looked out of practice, and that's not going to be a recurring theme this season. And credit New Orleans, man. Their defense is pretty good. We'll talk about them in a bit. Chicago Bears 1-0. Trubisky. Look, I always thought that the Bears defense was going to take a step back forward this year. Last year, they had a defensive coordinator, a defensive scheme adjustment. This season, there's more continuity and more familiarity. The defense is going to be good. Trubisky looked a little bit better, although it took him about 3 quarters to shake off rust. I don't love it, but when Trubisky uses his legs, the Bears, the Bears can win some games. So they're somebody that should be on everybody's radar, especially when you're talking against the spread. The Las Vegas Raiders, they beat the Carolina Panthers. It was a higher scoring game, but that's kind of what I expected. The Panthers' offense is a very good ball control offense. They take care of the ball. They have Christian McCaffrey, but DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Bridgewater is a little bit better than you'd think he is. He's executing the offense very well. That's a tough offense to contend with, so I'm not going to worry about it. I can see that the Raiders' defense is better. They just played a really nice offense, I think. They run the ball. They're patient with it. They're a team that's kind of building towards that Titans-type feel. They're just not there defensively yet. But I loved me some Raiders. I think they're good. They always win me money. They always cover the spread, so I like them, although it's going to be a tough matchup this week against the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, if they beat the Saints, they're in the top 10. You can't keep them out. The Washington football team beating the Philadelphia Eagles. This defense, I wanted to see it in action. Look, Jack Del Rio, Ron Rivera, schematically will get you to a top 10 defense in terms of at least yards given up. This defense will be on that top 10 radar. They'll be able to rush the passer. I still think they need to fill some holes in the secondary. This team defense, I think they're about a year or two away from being that perennial top 5 defense. Again, just look at the history of Del Rio and Rivera coaching NFL defenses. They're very, very good. And then you put them together, it's going to work, everybody. It really will. The question obviously is Haskins. Where is he in his development? I still think he's a little bit too raw. I think Washington's going to have to win a lot of these games with low-scoring totals, even though they put up 27 points. They'll be able to beat teams that don't take care of the football, but can they beat a team like Arizona, who does take care of the football and has a higher caliber offense? I don't know. We'll see this week. If they beat Arizona, probably got to put them in, right? So that'll be a fun one to watch. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who took care of Indianapolis, they weren't really a threat for me to get into the top 10 here, but they take care of the football. Jay Gruden, I know him from his days in Washington, very good play caller. Gardner Minshew, 19-20. James Robinson looks fantastic at running back. The defense, they lost these pieces, but they still, I thought, played okay, although Indianapolis was able to pick up yardage in chunks. And speaking of Indianapolis and Minnesota, they play each other. They both fell off the top 10 this week because of losses. I'm not worried about either team. I think they'll be in the playoff hunt all season long. They'll make some adjustments, and things will be fine. So let's go from 10 to 1. We're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals at number 10. Kyler Murray looked great. Arizona had played San Francisco tough twice last season. The defense is getting better. I thought they got the best defensive player in the draft, in my opinion. A difference maker, linebacker in Simmons. DeAndre Hopkins, fantastic. I mean, you get DeAndre Hopkins for essentially a second-round pick. They didn't want David Johnson anyway. So you're getting him basically for a second-round pick. That's great value. They have him locked up. If nothing else is working for the Cardinals, they can always just chuck the ball up to DeAndre Hopkins, and he's going to make plays. It's just they're a very good team, and it's funny because the entire NFC West made my top 10 this week. That's just how good this division is. Arizona playing Washington. Curious to see what they look like against Washington's defense. But hey, the San Francisco 49ers defense, they're pretty good. So there you go. The Los Angeles Rams at 1-0. I thought the Rams versus the Cowboys was some of the highest quality football we saw. The Dallas Cowboys gave the Rams, a pretty good shot. The Rams offense, here's the deal. The offensive line looks better. I think the 1-2 punch of Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers will be viable all season long, and I think that will free Jared Goff up to do what Jared Goff does best, which is play action and pick apart defenses in one-on-one coverage. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods will have great years. They're just a pretty sound team. I like the coaching to rebound. I didn't think the coaching was great last year. I think it will rebound this year. I like the Rams. I like them to make the playoffs. Really, honestly, I think the Rams and the Cardinals duke it out for what will be, one of the deep-seated wild card positions. Number 8 on my list, the New England Patriots. Now, they're a new entry into the list. I wanted to see what Cam Newton looked like. Well, Cam looked pretty darn good. He looked like the Cam Newton of old when he took the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl. New England will run the ball with Cam. They can run the ball without Cam, by the way, with their running backs. That whole problem from last year is kind of resolved. Cam will also push the ball downfield. Remember, Cam Newton made fantasy football kind of stat stars out of Benjamin and Funchess at wide receiver. Since they've moved on from Carolina, we have not seen or heard from them since. So that means guys like Carey, N'Keal Harry is going to have some serious value, I think, in fantasy down the line. So you might want to snap him up cheaply. Julian Edelman obviously is going to be just fine. James White out of the backfield will be good. And the defense, they lost a lot of pieces. That was another question I had. Bill Belichick, obviously, I think he's the best tactician in football. With respect to Andy Reid, I would say they're 1 and 1A. But Bill Belichick, fantastic. They're well coached. They're always going to be a smart team. So what is going to happen as they play the Seattle Seahawks this week? We will see. So let's see here. We got number 7 on the list. Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger back. I think he is going to supercharge this Pittsburgh Steelers team. We know the defense, right? This defense took them to an 8-6 finish last year without Roethlisberger. You add Roethlisberger, him converting more third downs, him getting more points. What's going to happen is the defense is going to be A, better rested, and B, they're going to be rushing the quarterback, which is what they do best. That means more interceptions. This Pittsburgh Steelers team is a viable Super Bowl threat as long as Roethlisberger is healthy. Number 6 on my list is the San Francisco 49ers. Dropped them down. I think they were number 3 last week. Dropped them down because of the loss to the Cardinals. Still ahead of the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals fans will take issue with that. This isn't the NCAA. I don't boost everybody up. Again, we're talking about Super Bowl viability. I want to see Arizona. Arizona's going to have to earn it from me personally in the power rankings. San Francisco, we know they have a Super Bowl pedigree. Their defense is very good. And San Francisco was missing wide receivers, like all of their wide receivers. McKinnon, I think, will probably be out in the slot while guys like Deebo Samuel work their way back in terms of health. But this is a good team. Garoppolo didn't look entirely sharp. That'll be ratcheted up, especially when Deebo comes back. So, look, I'm not punting on the San Francisco team yet. They have the Jets this week. They should win that game handedly. If they don't, though, if they somehow lose to the Jets, they're off the list, period. Let's see here. Number, what is this, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5 on the list, the Buffalo Bills. I wanted to see if Josh Allen could develop as a passer. He could be more precise. He did give us more precision, but he also left points on the field. So there's room for him to grow still. But if Josh Allen, I've been saying this all offseason, if he can be even a 60% passer, this Bills team is built to make a deep playoff run. They can run the ball, though we didn't see a lot of it in week 1. Their defense is fantastic, well coached. This Buffalo Bills team, I think they're 12-4. They could be this year's version of last year's Baltimore Ravens. And like I said, Josh Allen, he left some points on the field. That could have been a 50-point game from Buffalo, honestly, if you go back and watch that game. So I like the Bills. There is more ceiling on them. It's all on Josh Allen's shoulders, as everybody knows. All right, a little bit of a cutaway here. So I was cutting up the video. I was editing before posting, and I noticed I completely forgot about the Green Bay Packers, who looked great in week 1 in their matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. The defense, I know that ignore the final score. The defense was throttling Minnesota early in that game. Aaron Rodgers came out on fire. Aaron Jones could have had 3 touchdowns. I know he only ended up with 1, but the big thing is really the defense. The defense looks a lot better. I know I made a big deal in this video about how I was only going to include 10 teams and all that stuff, but when I noticed I whiffed on Green Bay, I had to put them in here. I put them tied with Buffalo. In reality, I'd probably inch them a little bit higher, but for purposes of this video, I'm going to have the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills tied for 5th. Ignore what I said before. That means we included 11 after all. Shame on me. And then I'm not sure within this video if I had been plagued by the fly or not. You start to see me swat and everything. And I said, I'm going to get that fly. Well, I got that fly. Anyway, let's get back to the original cut with team number 4. Number 4 on the list, the New Orleans Saints. I actually dropped them, not because of anything they did, but because one team really impressed me last week. Now, the Saints, everybody knows about their offense, and yeah, Michael Thomas with the ankle, he's questionable. I don't care about that. Their offense is so good, they're going to put up points no matter who's on the field. But let's talk about that defense. Everybody forgets that you cannot run on this defense. They are so strong, and that makes teams one-dimensional. Their defensive line can also rush the passer. The defensive backs are opportunistic. They're strong. My only question for New Orleans is sometimes in the regular season, their defensive backs, they always rise to the challenge when the receivers are good, but sometimes they underestimate. Like if the receivers are unheralded, sometimes you see kind of a weak mental game, I think, from New Orleans. But again, I mean, they were my preseason pick to win the NFC. Now they're my co-favorites to win the NFC. And, you know, they got jobbed a couple of years and some fluke stuff. So I kind of, partially rooting for them. So, you know, Drew Brees, they're just built, man. Every team from here on out is just built to win the Super Bowl. So it's going to be fun to see how it shakes out. There's a fly here. Shoe fly. The number 3 on the list, the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are very, very good. Their secondary is rebuilt. Quandre Diggs, you got Adams in there. You got, of course, Griffin. The defensive line is always good and strong, and the linebackers have speed, and they're very strong as well. So that Seattle defense, look, they're not the Legion of Boom level of defense yet, but they've been slowly, not rebuilding, but retooling over the last few years. People have been selling on them. I've been buying. Russell Wilson, 31-35, yes, against the Atlanta Falcons. I get it. Yes, the Atlanta Falcons, but still, 31-35 in an NFL game. That's pretty good. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Greg Olsen, viable receiving threats everywhere. Chris Carson showed you some soft hands this week. You got Carson and Hyde they will both be successful running the ball. This team is built to make a Super Bowl run. Right now, Seahawks and Saints are my co-favorites to win the NFC. And man, that's going to be very good. And the Seahawks, they match up against New England Patriots. So, the winner of that game is probably going to shoot up the rankings, regardless of whether it's the Patriots or the Seahawks. And the loser of that game is going to stay on the top 10. I'm just not going to move them off. Number 2 on the list, the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens actually might have moved up with their win. They just came out. They were precise. Lamar Jackson showed some downfield touch. That's exactly what I wanted to see. I knew Lamar Jackson is a hard worker, and I know he'll get that downfield touch at some point. I still think there's room to grow for Mr. Lamar Jackson, and that's a scary thing. The defense is phenomenal. Special teams are phenomenal. The Baltimore Ravens, again, built to make a Super Bowl run, but can they beat the number 1 team on my list, the Kansas City Chiefs, who, I'm sorry, the Houston Texans, we see the final score, you look at the stat sheet, you think, the Texans aren't that good. Texans played a good football game, and they got beat. They got beat by the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense is better than you think. They got better and better throughout the last year's season, the 2019 season. They had the new defensive coordinator. It took a little bit for those pieces to come together. By the end of the season, that defense was very, very strong. They finished top 10 in fantasy points this week. They can rush the passer. Kansas City is going to have leads. They don't have a weakness. Even their kicker is good, for crying out loud. The offense, Patrick Mahomes, come on. Edwards-Helaire looked fantastic. I do think that Darrell Williams will be kind of the short yardage back as we move forward. Edwards-Helaire got pushed back a little bit more, but he displayed more quickness than I thought he had. Very dynamic, very sharp off of cuts. You add a very good running game to Patrick Mahomes in this passing game. It's ridiculous. This fly is killing me right now. I'm gonna get that guy. Yeah, man. So the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl favorites. With respect to teams like the Ravens, the Seahawks, and the Saints. And I do think it's going to be Chiefs-Seahawks. I would love to see Chiefs-Saints. I'd like to see either one of that matchup. But man, this is going to be very good. So there you go, week 2 power rankings. Once again, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me which team I missed on. And yeah, so let's move it on. Catch you next week on the power rankings.